We are already past the midway point of March and Pokemon continues to climb, product continues to not be available, tariffs have now come into play, and Pokemon is just a complete disaster. Today, we're going to be focusing on single cards, Pokemon that are making the biggest movement, movers and shakers that we find on TCG players specifically is what we will be looking at today. As we're going to be seeing some cards that we did not expect to see in the lineup, specifically some GX cards, as the talk of the town is GX making a return in the new era. Let's dive in. So as mentioned, we will be using TCG Player today to look at these cards, as this is the list from TCG Player. And the first card on this list is Raging Bolt EX from Prismatic Evolutions, a very, very interesting one here. Just to look at the price here, 3 months it was at the $100 mark, below $100, actually $89, and has shot up to $167 and has about a 15% increase over the last week. And it's interesting to see this card making some big movements and not an evolution card making some movements, because that tends to be what makes the biggest movements in the Prismatic Evolution set. But we've got Raging Bolt here making some big movements. And of course, Raging Bolt is a playable card. It has that concept with it as well. And honestly, it's actually a decent artwork. I like it a lot better than what we saw in the earlier set from Scarlet and Violet. So this is actually a really cool card, up about 15%. It looks like it's going to continue to climb here. The other thing about this card is with Prismatic Evolutions having very difficult pull rates, this card is technically very difficult to pull as it falls under the SIR category, and it is about a 1 in 1400 chance to pull this card, which makes the value continue to increase. And it's cool to see it go over the $100 mark, almost getting close to that $200 mark. We'll see what happens at the end of the month. So Raging Bolt EX making some big movements over the last week, or in fact over the last month, I would say. The next card is Palafin EX. Palafin EX also making some big movements, also from Prismatic Evolutions, which is quite interesting because now we're seeing a lot of the other Prismatic cards other than the Evolutions making some moves. And this card was only about a $30 card when it first came out, got up to about 76 and then continued to climb, and now is over the $100 mark as well at $122. So huge increase for this one, up about $70 over the last month. It's insane. This card is growing really well and I believe is going to continue to grow. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this one. If you were to ask me between Palafin and Raging Bolt, I believe I would go with the Raging Bolt. It just looks a little bit nicer, but some people may prefer this card as well. Looks nice with the colors and all that. And as I mentioned with the Evolutions cards, this one is also peeping out the Evolutions with the movement. It's quite interesting. And another thing I want to mention about this card as well, and it's as stated actually within the statement of this card as well, it's having steady growth. It's not, just shooting up randomly. It's been going up since it had come out and making small gains here and there. As you can see here, we were at $71 at the beginning or in the middle of January. Then we got up to $78, $79, $88 in the first week of February, $91 midway through February, and now in the middle of March we're at $122. So it's having that growth on a very, very steady pace, which is actually a good sign, as that's what you want to see with a Pokemon card, not shoot up all the way and then come back down, because that's tends to be where that FOMO happens, overbuying or some sort of market manipulation, that is. But Palafin EX also making some big moves right now. And finally, another card from Prismatic Evolutions, and finally an evolution card, Flareon EX has joined the fray here. And this one was actually about $250 on the release week. As you can see here, we look at the price point around $242 and has gone up to over $400. In comparison to some of the other evolution cards, and also mentioned as well in this paragraph below, all of the Evolutions cards were pretty high up there and have started to dip down a little bit, whereas Flareon is making the opposite movement. This one is actually a really nice card in comparison to some of the other ones. Again, it most probably comes down to preference, as the pull rates are the same. Most people prefer the Umbreon over all the other ones, and Sylveon tends to take the second place. Third place is really up for grabs between any of the evolution cards, and right now it seems like Flareon is the more preferred one. Personally, for me, it was Leafeon, but Flareon is the one that's making the moves. Currently going for $405, which is pretty up there. And if we remember, as we said earlier, it started off at approximately $242. So big movements for Flareon EX as well. And now it's time to look at some of the older cards that I wanted to discuss. And the first one here is Blastoise and Piplup GX. Big man Blastoise over here from Cosmic Eclipse making some big movements here. This card was approximately a $20 card in the beginning of January and has had steady climb ever since, going up and up and up to about $31. Again, not a very expensive card, but we like to see that steady climb with these cards because it shows you that there is real growth with it and it's not some sort of market manipulation, no FOMO or anything like that happening. It's a good climb for this Blastoise, going from about $20 to $30 over the last month, and it's slowly making its way up there, and I can continue seeing this card climb because it is a GX card. And as I mentioned, we're going to see a couple of GX cards today, as the new era that is going to be coming out will include GX cards, which means these bad boys will have some popularity once again. And continuing on with Big Man Blastoise and Piplup GX again coming in from Cosmic Eclipse. This one is the ultra rare, also making some big movements. If you look here, it was around $144 in the middle of January, and we've climbed up to about $180 in the last month and a half, which is again very steady growth, nothing shooting up big time, and it's actually a really nice card. Both of these Blastoise Piplup GX cards are really nice here. I prefer actually the regular ultra rare card instead of this one over here, which is the more expensive variant, I should say. But honestly, both of them making big moves, both of them GX cards, so you better watch out for other GX cards that are going to start making some movements as well. And the last card that we're going to look at today is Reshiram and Zekrom GX, another GX card making some big movements. This one was about $124 in the middle of January and has climbed up slowly to that $270 mark, almost up over $100 for this bad boy as well. And this is a really cool card with N there in the middle and both of these beautiful Pokemon in the background. And again, we're seeing a lot of trainer gallery cards, or I shouldn't say trainer gallery, but the special illustration rare, including the trainers, as well as trainer galleries that we saw in the previous era, Sword and Shield that is. And it's really cool to see the trainer with Pokemon. It's just one of my favorite things to see with Pokemon cards. And I like this card itself. I didn't even remember this card from Cosmic Eclipse, but Cosmic Eclipse, a lot of its cards, as we see here, are making some big movements. I'm not too sure how much more this one can grow, as it's at $270 already, but based on N's reappearance to Pokemon with the latest sets, Journey Together, and the popularity of Reshiram and Zekrom, this card may have some more room to grow. There were some other cards as well, such as the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia card, also making some big movements. And again, it goes back to what I said, it's the GX concept. So that is a quick look at some of the biggest movers right now from the singles market. We're seeing a lot of movement from Prismatic Evolution's non-evolution cards, the exception of Flareon, getting up there, such as Raging Bolt, but more importantly, some of the older cards, specifically from Cosmic Eclipse, the GX cards, making some movement. In my opinion, I think it has something to do with the GX cards making a return in the new era that's going to be coming out, and that is what's pushing the price of these cards. Let me know in the comments section below what your thoughts are on this, and if there are other cards that I did not mention, or I should say were not mentioned by TCG Player, let me know. And if you guys got this far in the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. My name's TRV, you guys are the greatest, and we'll see you next time.